totally. I'm not anti-internet. I'm not. Just personally for me, a search for a record. You know, I've spent 5, 6 years trying to track down records. Then when you actually, the journey becomes part of that. That record becomes kind of totemized. You know, it turns into something more vibrant because it's not just about the music; it's about the search that you've had getting there, and it gives that record a kind of magical quality, even above and beyond the music. But that's just a personal thing. I mean, I do go on searches every now and again, but I'm totally aware that you can't do it. You know, you can't. There aren't that many record shops around now, so you can't. So you have to go on the internet, and that's fine. If that's the way you found it, then fine. All I would say that is if you are looking for a piece of music and you don't find it on the internet, when you find it in 5 years' time, I would imagine that will mean more to you than something that you've gone add to cart. You know, but that's just you know, I've been lucky. There was a record I was after called Train to Satanville by Ginger Lett, which is this amazing rockabilly record. And I looked in New York, I looked in Memphis, I didn't find it. One evening I walked into my local pub where there was a rockabilly night, and the guy was playing the records. And I went in, I said, look, can I just touch it, can I just hold it? He said, well, I've got another one here. You know, you can have it. Actually, it reminds me of great. I was in a record shop a few years ago, and a French record dealer I know came up to me and he said, I have this great record. And he was looking around like this all furtively. He said, it is the Holy Grail. No, and then that brilliant comic timing, and he went, and I have 2 of them. 2 Holy Grails? No way, man. So yeah, no, I'm totally, you know, that's, you know, I'm not averse to, you know, I'm not averse to going that way about it. But I would just say that if you do find something you can't find on the internet, when you do eventually find it in a record shop, it will mean you'll feel that rush. Yeah. Well, you say performing musician, Gary. Well, a lot of the gigs I didn't actually play. You know, some of them I didn't play. I remember, I think I was playing in Sheffield. It was a Warp night, and Warp had invited these American record executives. They were going to do a deal, and it was going to include the Sabres of Paradise. And the band were playing, and I wasn't playing with them that night. I'd kind of set it all up. I was standing here. I think Rob and Steve from Warp were here. The American executives were there, and one of them went, so which one's Andy Weatherall? And Steve Beckett went, him, like that. I was just standing there watching, which I think kind of ruined that deal. So I didn't, I didn't mind it. I mean, I quite enjoyed, I don't really remember much about those gigs. I remember we did a really good one at Back to Basics. It was probably one of the best ones we ever did. That was really good. And I don't know what it is about Basics. We did, when I did Two Lone Swordsmen, that one of the best gigs we did was with Dave as well. Didn't he nearly missed the gig. We were leaving it later and later. I think he'd left the sound check, got nicked, managed to talk himself out of jail, and then come back in time for the gig. But yeah, it's great. I mean, I enjoyed the Swordsman thing more because that was a bit more cathartic. Because I wanted to do something, I was feeling a little bit safe, and I was very good at kind of slagging other people off, and I thought, well, and also I was in a bad place personally. I needed to do something. I needed to stand on top of the metaphorical. I needed to be back on top of Silbury Hill, but this time naked, going like, throw stuff at me, everybody. And so we did the Swordsman thing. That was pretty enjoyable, but it took it out of me because we had no tour support. The band would usually get so fucked up they couldn't walk. So I would end up with the backline man unloading all the gear into my basement. And I was in my 40s, so I was basically in my 40s paying for the privilege of being a roadie, and the kind of novelty wore off a little bit. You know, it's the live thing's good, but it's an expensive thing to do. And it was great because we put ourselves under a lot of pressure. There's nothing like we did a gig in Belfast, and it was a techno night, and although it was electronically based, it's a bit too rock and roll for them, and there's nothing like looking at a man standing in front of you for an hour and a half just doing that. Seriously, just stood there doing that. And it was quite good because it kind of brings you down to earth a little bit. So yeah, the Swordsman thing was probably a little bit more enjoyable is not the right word, but a bit more of an experience, shall we say. To me, one of the worst sounds in the world is an MP3 being played through a Function 1 sound system. It's like nails down a blackboard to me, but then again, there's whole generations of kids that you don't miss frequencies you've never heard. So if you're listening to hideously compressed MP3s and that's how music is delivered to you, when it's then delivered loud, you're not going to miss those. You not miss those frequencies. But I mean, I play vinyl, but I also buy vinyl and record it onto CD, and you can visibly, I mean, you can audibly hear the difference. So I'll be playing. Someone before me will be playing with MP3s, and then I come on, and although I'm still playing a digital format, it's an analog. You know, it's a vinyl recorded onto CD. It sounds like a totally different sound system to me. So yeah, it's vitally important, and you'd think sort of 25 years into acid house that would still be on people's minds when they ran clubs, but sadly it's not. The sound is almost kind of secondary to the social nature of what you're doing. Yeah, it's a soundtrack, but it's a kind of background. Although it's very loud, it's still a background soundtrack, and you don't have to worry about sound quality. But yeah, I'm pretty not obsessive, but I am. Yeah, you have to present. That's what I think. I'd love, you know, a whole sort of room full of kids that have listened to hideously compressed MP3s, ring up Jar Shaka and go, right, and set up the sound system and push them into a room for an hour. Like, listen to that. That's how music should be separated. You know, that's expansive music. That's music you can climb inside, not some hideously compressed file. Because MP3s were never meant for music anyway. They were. I may be wrong, but I think they were a visual. Was it not for visuals? MP3s were invented for film, and someone thought, well, if you can cram all this information onto an MP3, you know, let's try it with music. And to me, it just doesn't sound right. Sometimes it's a bit like having a massive box of chocolates, and you end up just taking little bites out of things, and you end up with a bit, you know, instead of actually focusing on anything and it being nutritional, you just end up with a kind of big box of half-eaten chocolates. You never investigate anything. And also, I think that easy access. I mean, I do it sometimes, but that easy access kind of, like I was saying to the fella here, it kind of demystifies things. If there's really rare, I'd rather not see something and build up the myth in my head and not see it than go on YouTube and be a little bit disappointed because it's not quite the magical thing that I thought it would be. I mean, a case in point is, you know, Arthur Craven, the kind of Dadaist. There's a guy called Arthur Craven, and he was a kind of Dadaist artist. He was doing performance art before performance art was ever thought of. He was a weird guy. He was a boxer. He was a raconteur. A really mysterious individual. You know, I've been kind of fascinated with him for ages, and I'd never thought about investigating it online. But then I bought a book about him, and it kind of reawakened my interest in him. And like. I thought, oh fuck it, I'll put him into Google, and it came up, and there's actually film of Arthur Craven. It's only about 30 minutes or a minute, but I just wish I hadn't done it because it's yeah. I felt I'd reduced Arthur to just free content, which is not good. Oh, it would have to be the Shum. Yeah, because I'd become, by the age of 24, I was a jaded clubber. I'd been going to discos from the age of about 12 or 13. And as much as I like rare groove, it was getting a little bit tedious in London. And then to go to somewhere like that, which was playing such a wide cross-section of music, you know, I was in a room with 100 people. I couldn't see my hand in front of my face because of the smoke. The strobes were going off, and all of a sudden, Elijah by the Residents came on. And yeah, so it was a kind of punk rock moment. That's probably one of my favourite clubs of all time. It was just great that sort of, you know, a matter of months later I was actually part of it. So that'll always have, you know. Hacienda, I can't remember what night it was sort of Wednesday night or something, and I thought, I was doing a little bit of DJing, but I wasn't being paid enough. Could you just switch that camera off a second? But, so I thought, you know, I had friends up there, I had friends in Moss Side, so I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll make a bit of money, I'll take some ecstasy up to the Hacienda. So I went up there, had a great time. I was the hero. No, you know, there wasn't much of it around. I was the hero. I was, you know, taken to parties, lauded. Short of cheering me out of the club for going like, "Well done, you," they couldn't have been more accommodating. So I thought, oh, this is a good thing. 2 weeks later, I got up on the same night, different story. Obviously a consignment had come in, and there was a friend of mine that helped me, that would help me out on a commission basis. And I looked round to see where she was, and that corner, that little corner where they all used to congregate, just as she came in on the left, she was there. Some guy, some lumpy mank had her by the throat, and I think her feet were a little bit off the, you know, it was like proper comedy, like that, going like that to her and then pointing to me. I've never left a club so quickly in all my life. But that's how quickly it was spreading. That's how quickly acid house culture was. You know, in a matter of 2 weeks, I'd gone from hero to zero, and had to kind of skulk out and leave the establishment. But yeah, to be honest with you, I had to reading Peter Hook's book, How Not to Run a Club, filled in a lot of gaps for me, because apparently I played at the Hacienda a couple of times. I really don't remember those. You know you're in trouble when you've got Peter Hook sorting your life out for you. What's kind of remix-wise, I've done one, I forget, it sounds terrible, I forget the girl's name, but she used to be in Gus Gus. I've done one for her, for Rough Trades. I've just been sent a new Moby record, maybe to remix, which is, oh, get you, get you.
Soon appearing on the car adverts.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. You listen to it and you think this has got telephone advert written all over it. But it's actually not a bad song. It's got Wayne Coyne from the Flaming Lips over it. I mean, it sounds like a Primal Scream offcut. I mean, it's very epic with pianos and a gospel choir. It's a bit sort of Come Together Part 2. And if they think that's what they're getting, they're very much mistaken.
Destroy.
Yeah, just fucking destroy it, man.
What's he done?
I get offered things more regularly, but I'd rather it be a kind of event thing, and it's a lot of work. I mean, even if I did a monthly show or a weekly show, it's a lot of work to get the music together for those shows, because it's all well and good being having Catholic tastes and being a bit esoteric, but I like there to be some kind of link rather than just look at me and my wide-ranging musical taste. There's got to be, I think about the start, the beginning and the end. It's the same as building a set when you're out DJing. You're not mixing, but you're still thinking about some kind of flow, and there's some reason why you're playing that dub record next to that Mongolian nose flute record or whatever it is. Yeah, but yeah, I enjoy it, but I'd rather do it sporadically and it be more of a kind of event, really.
You have these renaissance periods where, and it's been happening the last couple of years with the Love from Outer Space thing,
yeah,
where your name, it comes up again out of the ether.
The fickle world of show business.
Indeed. But what is it that stops you from doing that thing? Because you talk about you're building sets to go out and play when you. What stops you from having it broadcast to on Six Music or on Radio 1? What is it that stops you from doing that? Because you said it does take time, but by the same token, you're taking time to. Well,
I have to be arsed. I can't just tip up at radio at BBC and go, "I'm here with my records."
but surely they've asked you.
Well, no, yeah, they asked me, but and the shows go well. But a lot of the time now, it's independent production companies making the programs. So I do a program, people like it, and the productions companies say, "Oh yeah, you're going to have to do something more regularly," but they can't. It's not. They then have to go to the BBC. And they're a lot younger, more attractive, up-and-coming DJs than myself. I know it's hard to believe, but especially at Six Music. So yeah, I get promised things, but then when they obviously go to the board meeting, it doesn't get any further than that.